Good afternoon. It's December 26th. So I'm thinking out loud. So that's the day after Christmas, which happens today happened to be St. Stephen's Day, if I remember correctly, and Boxing Day, if you're English, although I'm not sure exactly what Boxing Day is. I think it's an historical event that had to do with Oliver Cromwell, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, I think it's the second or the third day of Kwanzaa, and I think Hanukkah ended 2 days ago. And I apologize for those of you who observe those holidays if I'm misrepresenting the dates. The short story is this is the holiday season, and as we come up toward the next holiday, which is this coming, well, Saturday or Sunday, depending how you interpret it, we are obviously coming to New Year's Eve, and which I don't like to celebrate all that much, and New Year's Day. And then we hit the ground running for January 2nd, where the course doesn't exactly begin. In my mind, it begins officially per Stony Brook on the 4th of January. But since it's cold outside, and since I've been getting my little share of anxiety attacks about meeting everybody's needs, I have quite a few courses to teach this year, and I'm trying to keep all those balls up in the air. So you're the first course that I'm going to address. And this course is high performing teams, 515, and we'll proceed. What I'm going to do today in this introductory video is kind of ramble, quite frankly. I'm just going to ramble, and we're going to post this up inside of an hour. And we'll hope that those of you who begin to search for syllabi and for direction about how the course should go, we'll watch this. I'm thinking out loud as I say this to you before I absolutely introduce myself, is that this is the course that really does not lend itself, I don't think, to online all that well. Were that this course were a in-face, hello, I'm Dr. B, and hello, who are you? And we're looking right at each other and we're interacting with each other kind of course, because after all, it's about teams and about how teams operate properly. Nonetheless, we work with what we've been assigned to do. So, in a sense, in essence, this is an asynchronous course that will meet from maybe it's January 3rd instead of January 4th, from January 3rd to the end of this winter semester, which is January 21st, and that is a sprint. And so, what we will do is we will sprint through it as best we can, and likely not finish everything that I want to finish, because 3 weeks is incredibly difficult to, my word, cover. I don't like to use that verb when I'm professoring, but cover all the concepts that and pieces to what a course like this could be. This course, in my mind, has great power for those of you seeking your MBAs or learning about organizational management approaches or just how to work with other people. This is the kind of course that you want to have under your belt, and we'll do the best we can to make all the pieces fit. Enough said. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. I probably again come back and remember some other things I want to say in a little bit. In fact, let me write something down before I forget it. Okay, introductions. I need you to introduce yourselves to me and the discussion forum on Brightspace. And let's make sure we all understand that. For those of you who are familiar with this, having been part of the Stony Brook programs for some time, you know that the university has transferred over from Blackboard, which was never my favorite platform to begin with, to Brightspace. The Bernardo jury on Brightspace is still out, although the little bit of experience I've had trying to teach it to myself the past month or two is pretty favorable. So I think it will probably work well. It's kind of, I think, a little bit more intuitive than Blackboard is, and I'm hoping it's as comprehensive as Blackboard can be, which is one of the few good things about Blackboard, I thought. So at any rate, we're working off Brightspace, and I'll be posting this to the Brightspace site as soon as I transfer this Zoom video, to a YouTube, and then I'll post a YouTube for you to watch an unlisted link, so to speak. Okay, so introductions. Again, as I said a moment ago, I'm going to introduce myself to you now, and then you're going to introduce yourself to me and to your colleagues. And I think there's just a few of us in this particular class, so it wouldn't be hard for you to get a handle on who your asynchronous people are. And by the way, since this is asynchronous, that is to say, you know that when I'm meeting as a whole with a W anytime, and you're not required to feel like you need to do that, so that you can look at these videos anytime you want. If I were you, I would not let the grass grow under your feet too long, because you know the time compression of the semester, the winter semester, is such that if you were to dawdle a little bit, you might regret that as you get back towards the last day of the class, so to speak. So I will say now, before I forget, that I'll be posting a lot of videos. I'll be posting up, in addition to what's on the syllabus, and I'll be posting a lot of videos, a lot of YouTubes, a lot of things I will have expected you to have worked with and seen before you respond to any of the things I ask you to do. So know that, and know that it will keep you hopping a little bit, but not hopping so that you want to hop off into the sunset. At least I hope that you don't. Now I'll get around to introducing myself. Obviously, I'm older than everyone here who else is watching this course. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I guess I'm getting up there now, and I'm smiling because I didn't think that I would even necessarily point out the fact that I'm old, but I'm old, which means a lot of things. But one thing it means is I can't run around the block as fast as I used to. And then on the other hand, it also means that I have a lot of experience, and experience I do have from all sources of places and sorts of places when it comes to this particular topic. It's a topic actually that I'm very energized by, and hope to infuse into you as best I can in the few weeks we'll be together. Yeah, I'm old, 53, 54 years now worth of professional work in quite frankly, in working in teams, in teaching, in professoring big time, and also in my research, my own particular doctoral research and consultations that I do are all about working in teams. So there's a lot of I can offer you on that count, and I hope to be able to exchange with you. And notice I use the word exchange, not do a talking head at you the way I'm doing right now. If there were a way we could exchange among each other, the only way I think that we can truly exchange among each other is in the discussions. So, which you'll be asked to post towards. And so there's I'll tell you right now what the two discussion assignments are for this coming week. One is to introduce yourself, why you're in the course, what you expect to get from the course, whatever your career expectations are, how I might be able to help you sharpen them up, whatever the particular interest you have, or all kinds of things I would like you to do. I don't need you to do a dissertation or an autobiography, but I would like for you to take a serious attempt to have us understand who you are, because the more I understand who you are, and the more you understand each other's viewpoints, perspectives, the better we'll get some good exchanges going on in the various discussion questions. So that's the first assignment for this week. The second assignment for this week, discussion question for this week, I should say, which would be due at the end of the week. So if we start on the 4th, then it would be somewhere in the weekend of the 9th, 10th, and around there, is to answer a question. Here it is. I'll post the question, but here's the question. I'm smiling kind of smugly because I want you to really put this under your pillow before you answer the question. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 meaning not at all, not happy, I don't believe in this at all, to 10 meaning that you metaphysically believe in the statement I'm about to give you, notwithstanding any yes buts that may have occurred to you. And with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 being shades at that point. 1 meaning no, and 10 meaning absolutely yes. To what extent do you agree with this statement? Here is the statement. Ready? Very short. None of us is as smart as all of us. That's the question. I'm smiling smugly because I have my opinion, which is pretty complex, actually, in my own opinion. But if you force me to give you a number, I will give you a number, but not today. And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer to this, and you don't stand in a corner if you don't give the answer that the rest of the colleagues in the class say, as such. Then again, maybe I should make you do that. No, I won't let you, not this time. None of us is as smart as all of us. All of it, which means that we're talking about how groups work together effectively. He snarled. Collaboratively, cooperatively, which are two different things, actually. Hear those two adverbs. Collaboratively and cooperatively, two different things. They sound like they are alike, but they are not. Sometimes I will even use them interchangeably, but they are two different verbs. How does, if we're counting on groups to be effective, whether you're the manager of the Applebee's down around the street, or whether you are head of a huge corporation or a principal of a school, or any other combinations of those kinds of things, you're using teams. And the question then becomes is, how do you use them? How can you use them well? How can you make them effective? How can you assure yourself that none of us will be as smart as all of us? So those are the two discussion assignments for the week. I won't give it two discussion questions every week, but this week I am. And so there will be, again, introduce yourself. That'd be the first thing I need you to do. Post that up in Brightspace, and I'll make the posting available sometime this afternoon. And then hoping that you have nothing to do and that you will take the time to say, oh, look, the professor put a video up. I might as well get started with this course as such. So again, I'm very experienced with a lot of what this is all about from an exchange and energy point of view, and from the fact that there are variables that must be recognized that have to be present in a group in order for that group to be effective. And we'll talk about that from any number of corners as we get along the way. So that's the first thing. I've been a professor here at Stony Brook, I guess 5 or 6 years now, both in the HPT program and in this program. I have am actually a professor of leadership over at St. John's in their doctoral program for over 10 years now. Before that, I was an assistant dean at Gowling College School of Education. Have been as a higher education administrator for a couple of years at Dowling, and I have taught in one form or another from before any of you were born. And I'm not being smug about that. It's just the truth. And so I've bled and suffered more than any of you have, and trained different things out with different groups of people. And I've also recognized the achievements that you can get when you get a group to collaborate. Not necessarily collaborate and cooperate, but in that order. So that's who I am. I could bore you with my interest and so forth, but they'll probably emerge one way or another as I talk at you in all these different videos. That's me. And you're going to tell me who you are, probably better than I'm telling you who I am at this point. Okay, in terms of time expectations, I'm going to come back to this in a moment when I open up the syllabus. Again, this is a sprint. It's not a marathon. It's a sprint. And so you've got to come out of the blocks pretty hard with me and sprint to the tape. You can't really dawdle all that much. I think you need to put in your own mind, put aside 2 days a week, maybe 3 sometimes, depending on the assignment. Now whole day, but 3 days of HPT work to assure yourself that you'll be completed within the semester's expectation. So that's something to pay attention to. I'm not exactly sure how I want to handle videos. So I'm just going to go with the flow between my own ears for the moment, but say that when I think I need to post a video, I will. I might be brief, it won't be as long as this one is turning out to be, or I might put up a couple of YouTube videos on any number of topics that are associated with the course, and I'll expect you to look at those and eventually plug those themes and principles that emerge from those videos back into your assignments. Essentially, you have 3 assignments, and we'll come to that in a moment. And again, I mentioned it's asynchronous. I probably run an office hour. I'm not sure when I'm going to do that. An office hour is a voluntary, he shouted, big V, voluntary, not 2, but V. Voluntary office hours, I'll put up at least once or twice in the course saying, I'm online now, I'm live. Who wants to talk to me now with a question about a given assignment or anything else along the lines of what the course is about? This is the best time to do it. Also understand that I'm an email junkie. You email me about something. Some of you have already figured this out, I think. I'm an email junkie. Answer emails like in 10 seconds when they see them. I become more almost as bad when it comes to text messages. Yes, you can text me. Tell me who you are and tell me what course you're in. And I'm not being a wise guy when I tell you I have quite a few courses running at the same time, quite a few people I'm trying to help. So if I don't know who you are, I have to come back and say, who are you? That's kind of silly. So just tell me, hi, I'm John Smith from the HPT course, and I have a question about, and I'll answer you as rapidly as I can. The only time I don't like to be called at 10 o'clock at night, but I'm up early in the morning, and I don't like to be really asked too many questions on Sundays until the football season is over, and it's almost over for the Jets. But then I'm not really a Jet fan, but I'm following them, and we'll see when my Giants land before this is finished. So in January, there's a lot of things to do on Sunday, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so and I'll probably speak to that again in a moment. Again, Brightspace is the language we use here now, and the Blackboard is no longer. Remember that? And let's pull up the syllabus. This syllabus is already posted on Brightspace. I'm going to go over it now. I'll probably do much of what I'm doing now again in another video, knowing me. I do repeat myself. Just the way my children, and they'll tell you that. Hopefully they haven't caught that DNA from me as such. So this is the syllabus. I will state right now, I reserve the right to adjust the syllabus. I reserve the right to adjust the syllabus. Now, why would I do that? Certainly not to confuse you. Usually when I change a syllabus, I change it because I see the direction of the course's interest or skill sets requires me to adjust for something. I might see that, for example, that you don't understand the high involvement model very well, and would require that I have to go back and do it again in a different way to assure myself that you've mastered that objective. Why just keep plowing through objectives if I think by way of the feedback I get from you that you as a whole with the group, as a whole with a W, I should say, are missing something. When somebody taught you how to add, one and one, and then taught you how to subtract after they taught you how to add, they may have realized they didn't know that the reason why you can't subtract very well is because you didn't know how to add very well. And so the good teacher drops back and plugs that hole up again before she goes forward. And that's how I handle these courses. It's my job to have you master the objectives that we're talking about. And that may require that I either change an assignment or changing some content here and there, or give you something new to look at. And I'm quite frankly counting on a lot of your offline use of the internet, and the videos I've given you will compensate for some of the things I won't be able to get to in these brief video presentations. If you think that I'm here to talk at you for the next 3 weeks, I am not. It's just not the way I see how people learn, especially adults, or anyone for that matter. Enough said. All right, so we're going to try not to change it. We're going to try not to change anything, but I reserve the right to do that to make the course effective. Leading high-performing teams is the title. There's the credit hours and all those other good things. That's my name. It's spelled with a T and not with a D. When you send me an email, send me an email to that address. There's my cell phone number. Again, you can call me, or you can text me, or you can FaceTime me if you feel the need to, or Zoom me for that matter. Whatever other visual there is out there right now. But I'd like to keep it between 9 and 9, and I'll get back to you. That's a promise. That's a money back guarantee. I will respond to you. Sometimes I'll say yes, and that might be my answer. And sometimes I'll come back with a 20-minute response, which I'll probably say, you need to call me. We need to talk. So I have more time to flesh out whatever my answer might be. I don't like to be read to, but let me read this to you for a moment, and we'll go from there. Course description: exceptional leaders assemble and direct a team that maintains a high level of effective performance. This course examines how leaders leverage, there's the key verb, the dynamics of their teams to achieve their goals. Topics such as diversity of thought and diversity in general, we will address. I'll say that again: diversity of thought and diversity in general. Creating a collaborative environment, establishing a shared vision, and facilitating effective self-motivation will be examined in depth. Okay? We need to get a book. And I don't like teaching from text, but since we're in this sprint, you need the book. It's not a real expensive book. I'm not sure what it costs, but it's not crazy expensive. It's called Working in Teams, out of 2015 by Griffith and Dunham. I like the book, and we'll use the book as a sort of the baseline for things. I don't mean to go through every page of the book, nor do I expect you to read every page of the book necessarily, but I do recommend the book for your professional library. So you need to get the book. Enough said. And I'll give you handouts and articles as I think I need to bring them across to you and get them up in front of you for you to take care of business. There are other books too. These are just a couple that I'll recommend. And one book I'm going to particularly recommend is Lencioni, Patrick Lencioni, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a very simple little book. I think it's $15 if I'm not mistaken. And again, it's not a required book. It's a recommended book. The other book is required. But this book does kind of get its arms around the moving elephant that is a team. And basically, he takes a kind of a cute way of looking at life by calling it, these are the 5 dysfunctions of a team. If these dysfunctions exist in your team, then the team's not a team. It's not effective. And he does a nice job with it. At the very end of the chapter, he speaks to, has a little instrument. I want to say it's maybe 15 items long. If you have the time, and depending on your own status as a leader, you might want to work that or adapt that particular little questionnaire over to your colleagues or your employees, and try it out on them, and you'll be surprised with how you can diagnose whether those dysfunctions exist in your team rather readily based on this little instrument that's there. I like Levi a lot too. I'm not that familiar with Beatty. I have to go back and revisit that one. And group dynamics it's a topic that just fascinates the living daylights out of me, and I'll address that wherever I can find a way to address it. And Whelan's book about creating effective teams is really what we're all about here. Okay, I apologize again. I'm reading to you. Yes, it's an asynchronous online course. It's delivered in Brightspace. I only said that about 4 times. Each week has several learning modules, and deadlines are Sunday at 11:59. Otherwise, you turn back into a pumpkin. I already talked about communication. You have my email address, and you have my phone. I prefer to answer you through email, but if you need to talk to me or get a quick answer to something, if I can answer you when you text me, I will. All right, just Can't promise I will every time. Okay, so that's how we're going to communicate. Give me a couple of days to come back to you, but I'm pretty rapid about those things. So you can expect an answer, not immediately, but pretty quickly. I'm not going to get into technical requirements. You do need to get your arms around Brightspace. And again, my experience with Brightspace, which is not maybe 3 steps ahead of you, and I don't not much more than that, is that it's fairly intuitive, what I can gather for the moment. So you're going to think you can figure these things out pretty quickly. If not, you can go call the help desk and take it from there. These are the kinds of computers you should have. Obviously, I don't think I need to tell you that this is where the rubber meets the road. I'm pretty inflexible. I'm not an inflexible instructor by any means, but I'm pretty inflexible about objectives for numbers of reasons I won't bore you about, at least not yet. The objectives are how I measure myself and how I measure you, and how we measure whether the course did what we promised it to do. And so we have 4 objectives for this course, which is pretty reasonable for a 3-week class, I think. So you're going to be an LO1, LO2, that's what they stand for. The first one is you need to be able to explain how leaders should create teams, okay, in order for them to develop a shared vision. And I could do a whole course on shared vision. I'm smiling smugly on that one. So we'll do the best we can with that in the time we have. I guess one question I should ask rhetorically is whether you think your group has a shared vision, or whether you're deluding yourself to think that group has a shared vision. Live with that point for a minute. So that's the first objective: how to create a team, effective teams, and how to move them towards here comes a word I don't like to use, but here it comes: facilitate towards a shared vision. Objective 2 is you're going to be able to describe how effective leaders can create an inclusive environment. There's a lot of research about this on one level, but there's newer research that I've begun to pay a lot of attention to the last 2-3 years, is the new connotation of inclusive. And we will talk to that, probably not as much as I would want to, but I certainly will make the point about truly what an inclusive environment is about. And I'll mention some of the research about including people. What good is a group if the group isn't a group? If you got people standing on the outside who are physically sitting in the group, but are part of the group, then why are we having a group? And so then the group, pardon my grammar, ain't a group. And so that's the second objective. The third one is motivation. Okay. Complex topic. Again, 30 hours on that course, on that one objective alone, would be standing on one foot. That's how many different premises to look at there. But we will look at that. I'll certainly acquaint you and sensitize you to the issues of group motivation in comparison to individual motivation when they are in conflict with each other, or when they are working with each other as such. And the last objective is, to come back to Lencioni, is objective 4. What are the common dysfunctions? What are the things that go wrong? And if so, how do you either avoid them, confront them, or correct them? So those are the 4 objectives. Oh, there's 5, excuse me, where you're going to be able to discuss the various types of teams where leadership is needed and the kinds of groups that they are. There are different kinds of groups out there, aren't there? There are groups that advise. There are groups that take charge of. I mean, I'm simplifying this. There are groups that make decisions for everybody else, and there are groups that might just create some input for a leader to take charge of or take advantage of. And sometimes we tend to forget that. And sometimes people in groups tend to be confused by what those types of teams are that they're in. And that's when you begin to get problems. That's when the team begins to break down. So there are 5 objectives. I think I said there were 4, but one's on the wrong page, so to speak. Okay, what you need to do, you need to do all the assigned readings. You need to complete all the assigned work. I already told you what one piece is, fraction percentage wise, is discussions. I will post one or two, and I'm not going to say how many I'm going to do. The first week for sure, there are two discussion questions. One is to introduce yourself, and the other one is to not only answer the question 1 to 10 on whether you believe the teams, that none of us is as smart as all of us, but also why you think that way. Otherwise, we won't know really where you're really sitting on all this. And it's not a trick question, by the way. It's just a question of really how you understand that. And even more importantly, it just comes to mind, is how you think your team members think, whether none of us is as smart as all of us. If they don't all agree on that, I wonder if that's another issue to speak of. Now, if you're familiar with Stony Brook, this course schedule is the template for how the course should run if everything is perfect. P.S. Everything usually becomes not perfect, sooner or later. But for the moment, we're going to assume that these are how things are going to go. So from January 4th to January 11th, we're going to do a better introduction than I'm doing today. I'm just getting your feet wet and my whistle wetted, so to speak. And then we're going to, in another video, speak to teams and design leadership and interpersonal dynamics. So that's the content for the week as such. And the outcomes are that you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to share those perspectives. Now you can see those 2 points go directly back into the discussion assignment. Okay, by the way, these discussion questions are not meant to be dissertations. Give me a paragraph, a little, however long a paragraph may be, he smiled. You don't have to write an essay, but just make sure that you have succinctly answered the point as such. We're going to somehow be able to discuss the complexities of building a team. I'll be doing that in the video. And then we're going to talk about culture. And that's going to be for the second week. See that D, explain how culture impacts teams, which means I got to give you a third thing to do. Okay. I'll tell you about that in the next video. There will be a third thing to do. Not as a discussion question. Yeah, as a discussion question, because we're not going to be in class together. Not to worry. Actually, it's a fun thing that we'll be doing. And we're going to be able to discuss the various types of leadership. Now you can see that in that first week segment, in module 1, you go through 2 objectives, 1 and 5. We could probably make a case for some of the other ones, but that's the ones that are directly targeted in this case. And what you need to do is to read and understand the syllabus, which you're doing right now. And I advise you to read it that much more closely as you get closer to the course. Again, review whatever materials I've posted to you. I haven't posted any yet, so I will have a couple of things for you to look at. And online policy and procedures we're not going to worry about. As far as deliverables are concerned, your job, okay, would be to introduce yourself in the forum, in that discussion question I'm going to post, and then answer the none of us is as smart as all of us question. Now, I want you to see now, then we go over to week 2. I'm not going to read all of this to you today. You can see that from the 12th to the 19th, we're going to be working on 12th to the 19th. Yeah, this course is, it's not even a sprint. It's like a shotgun. Saying it's done, the course is due on the 27th. I won't worry about that another day. We'll talk about communication and motivation and decision-making and creativity. There'll be a lot of Bernardo coming at you with this. And I'll tell you more about what you need to do in those coming weeks. And you have some assignments. Now, let's get to that. So I'm not going to get to the third week with you right now. Here's a rubric for the discussion questions. I follow them pretty closely. I'm not religious about it, but I do follow them closely. And you have 3 assignments. You can see, by the way, the most heavily weighted assignment is the participation assignment, which is the discussion assignments. So you got to throw some energy into that, not only to answer the question, but also to respond to other people's posts. Ask them questions, comment on what you think they're saying. You can politely disagree with them. Or if they politely disagree with you, you can explain yourself better. I need to see a conversation going. You are expected to respond to one or two other posts besides your own each week. That's a biggie for the 36 points. There's a midterm, which I'll talk more about more specifically in a week or so, because it's not due right away, but it's almost due right away because the course is flying. And then there's a leadership paper about team success. Each of them is equally equal in weight. I'm not going to read this to you, but you should read this to yourself, what this means. Okay. And then we go to midterm. Midterm is explained quite well because in this syllabus, so I'm going to drop down a little bit. You're going to see, going all the way to the end of the syllabus, what the leadership paper should look like. And you're going to see the midterm. There's the midterm right there. So we'll talk more about that, but everything is on the syllabus. So, and they'll be due, one will be due about halfway through. I think I have a date on the calendar someplace. And the other one will be due at the end of the semester. So when we come out the other side of this, you will have a pretty good set of skill set and a content set that will equip you to translate to your own leadership, styles of leadership, which is pretty important if you think about it, because not everybody has the same style, although there is research about what the best styles are. And I'll probably get into that pretty quickly. I have strong opinions about that based on my own research. And that's it for now. So what I'm going to do now is sign off on this. You're going to see another video from me, probably closer to the 4th. I'm not sure when, the end of this week, or maybe early, maybe Sunday, depending when the Giants are playing, if they're playing. Yeah, they're playing Sunday, I think. Okay, so if you have a question, email me. People always ask me about textbooks. That's the textbook. We're not negotiating the textbook. You need to have the textbook because you'll see in the deliverables where we address the different, where is it? It's up here, up higher, I think. You'll see text chapters 1 and 2, text chapters 3 and 4. And you'll need to do that. Doesn't mean you need to memorize it, but you need to use it as the source, in addition to my being the ultimate source of all things knowledgeable. Enough said. So I'm stammering because I really like this course. I really would love to be able to really have all of us swinging from chandeliers and doing some really great things. Even if it were a synchronous course, we could have some more fun with it than we're going to do here. But I'm swinging because I'll figure out ways to get us all swinging from our own chandeliers, so to speak. Enough said. I appreciate the chance to work with you and to help us grow together to make ourselves more efficient leaders.